The life and sad ending of Gene Rayburn. Gene Rayburn was born December 22, 1917, in Christopher, Illinois, the younger of two children of Croatian immigrants. Rayburn's father died when he was an infant, and his mother moved to Chicago, where she met Milan Rubesa. After she married Rubesa, on November 10, 1919, Rayburn took the name Eugene Rubesa. He had an elder brother, Alfred, who was killed when Rayburn was a child, and a younger half-brother, Milan Rubesa Jr. Rayburn graduated from Lindblom Technical High School and attended Knox College. At Lindblom, he was a senior class president and acted in plays Robert of Sicily and Mrs. Wiggs of the Cabbage Patch. An aspiring actor and opera singer, Rayburn moved to New York City but was unable to find stage work. So he found a job as a page and tour guide at NBC Studios at 30 Rockefeller Plaza. After 3 years in that position, Rayburn began announcing at various radio stations, eventually landing back in New York at WNEW. He enlisted in the United States Army Air Forces and served in World War II. Gene chose the stage name Rayburn by randomly sticking his finger in the phone book. Before appearing on television, Rayburn was an actor and radio performer. He had a morning drive-time radio show in New York City, first with Jack Lace Cooley, called Anything Goes, and later with Dee Finch, Rayburn and Finch, on WNEW. Now it's called WBBR. Rayburn's pairings with Les Cooley and Finch helped to popularize the now familiar morning drive radio format. At WNEW, he was able to lobby for songs recording and hence chart popularity. For example, Music, 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 recorded by Teresa Brewer and co-authoring the lyrics of the song Hopscotch Polka with Carl Sigman, both in 1949. When Rayburn left WNEW, Dee Finch continued the format with Gene Clavin. Rayburn later took the lead role in the Broadway musical Bye Bye Birdie when Dick Van Dyke left the production to star in The Dick Van Dyke Show. Breaking into television as the original announcer on Steve Allen's Tonight, Rayburn began a long association with game show producers Mark Goodson and Bill Todman in 1953. He first appeared on Robert Q. Lewis's The Name's the Same. Rayburn frequently sat in for regular panelist Carl Reiner. In 1955, he took over as host of the summer replacement game show Make the Connection from original host Jim McKay. From there, he hosted shows such as Choose Upsides, Do Re Mi, and the daytime version of Tic Tac Doe. On the radio, Rayburn became one of the many hosts of the NBC program Monitor in 1961 and remained with the show until 1973. In an uncredited role, Rayburn played a TV interviewer in a movie, It Happened to Jane, 1959, starring Doris Day. Rayburn was also a frequent panelist in the 1960s and 70s on What's My Line and To Tell the Truth. From 1962 to 69, Rayburn hosted Match Game. In the original version, which aired from New York on NBC, Rayburn read questions to two panels, each consisting of a celebrity and two audience members. The questions in the original game were ordinary. The show was canceled in 1969 to make room for the topical, short-lived game show Letters to Laugh In. Goodson-Todman revived Match Game in 1973 for CBS, this time as a California-based game show. Rayburn returned as host and introduced a new format in which two contestants tried to match the responses of 6 celebrities. From 1973 to 77, Match Game was number 1 among all daytime network game shows. 3 of those years, it was the highest rated of all daytime shows. The daytime revival of Match Game, which featured regular panelists Richard Dawson, Brett Summers, and Charles Nielsen Riley, ran until 1979 on CBS and another 3 years in the first-run syndication. Rayburn was nominated for 2 Daytime Emmy Awards for Outstanding Host or Hostess in a game or audience participation show. During the years when Match Game was taped in Los Angeles, 73 to 82, Rayburn lived in Osterville, Massachusetts on Cape Cod. He commuted to California every 2 weeks to tape 12 shows over the course of a weekend. In 1983, he hosted a pilot for Reg Grundy Productions titled Party Line, which later became Bruce Forsyth's Hot Streak. During and between his Match Game years, Rayburn appeared as a contestant during a tournament of game show hosts on the original version of Card Sharks in 1980, and was a celebrity guest on Password Plus several times between 1980 and 82. Just before production was to begin on a new Rayburn emceed Match Game revival in 1987, an Entertainment Tonight reporter publicly disclosed that Rayburn was 69 years old, much older than many believed. Rayburn had trouble finding jobs after that, blaming the reporter for revealing his age and subjecting him to age discrimination. The subsequent lack of work he received was sending him into a downward spiral. Afterward, Rayburn portrayed himself on a Saturday Night Live sketch in 1990. He also continued to make appearances on talk shows throughout the late 80s and 90s, usually to discuss classic game shows, including appearances on Vicky and The Maury Povich Show, and The Late Show with Ross Schaefer. In his personal life, Rayburn was married to Helen Tickmore from 1940 until her death in October 1996. They had one child, a daughter named Lynn. One of his last TV appearances was a 1998 interview with Access Hollywood intended to coincide with the 25th anniversary of Match Game 73. Though in poor health and suffering from dementia, Rayburn appeared in person to accept a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. Sadly, a month later, on November 29, 1999, he died of congestive heart failure at his daughter's home in Gloucester, Massachusetts, at age 81. He was cremated and his ashes spread in the garden of his daughter's home.